O, S single bond O, S single bond H, and O single bond H. This is how to go about it. All right. So for this part, if you are going to use bond energies, then you need to find out which bonds were broken in the reaction, and then find out which bonds were formed. Then you do your tallying. Okay, so let's start with the bonds broken in the reaction. For the bond reaction, we have two S double bond O's. So two of those. S double bond O, two of them. S single bond O, two of them. O single bond H, two. And then S single bond H, two of them. All right, so if we want to break the bonds. Now the bonds formed. There are two of the S double bond O's that are formed and two of the O single bond H that are formed. So the energy given out as you form the bond will be -2 multiplying 523 plus -2 multiplying 464. And this gives -1974. All right. By the way, if you're able to calculate correctly, the energy associated with the bonds broken, it was worth 2 points. If you calculate correctly the bonds, the energy associated with the bonds formed, that is another 2 points. So now we are ready to calculate the delta H of the reaction for this first reaction. And it's going to be positive 1,366 or 1.37 times 10 raised to the power 3 kilojoule. One more point, making a total of 5 points for this part, for question 1. For the second question, we were to use the enthalpies of formation, all in kilojoule per mole, which were provided, to calculate the enthalpy change for the reaction, the same reaction. All right, so here we'll take the reaction as we had before, H2SO4 plus H2S going to SO2 plus 2H2O plus S. Of course, S is a solid. We don't even worry about it. We use the values we've been given for the other ones. So we have -909, -20.6, negative going to -297, going to 2 multiplied by -286. All right, so if we want to calculate the delta H of the reaction for this second type of calculation, we will have -297 plus 2 times -286 minus now -909 plus -20.6. And if you do the calculation correctly, you will arrive at positive 60.6 kilojoules. All right, for setting up the equation and going through the equation, you get 2 points, and for the final answer, it's worth 1 point, making 3 points there. Now, finally, for the third part, contestants were to comment on the relative values of the delta H in 1 and 2. So we've calculated the delta H of reaction for the same reaction, but we use 2 different methods. So the idea is to look at the 2 of them and make a comment. All right, so if we observe, we will see that delta H1 is much larger than delta H2. So for the first one, we had a much larger value than for the second one. However, if you know your chemistry, you know that delta H2, the second calculation, is more accurate than the first calculation because experimental values are used in getting the second one. Whereas the first one, bond energies, are average bond energies, and they are basically estimated values. They are not the real values, okay? So that is what will account for the differences in the values you get. Although you are calculating the same thing, you get very different values because of the estimation that has been made in one versus the experimentation that is involved in the other one. And for saying this, 2 points, bringing us to a total. Look, did you even attempt the second one? Yes, you tried to do the second one, but also didn't end anyway. So unfortunately, at Adisadel College, I'm going to have to give you 0 out of 10. Keta, you started with 2, the second part, and you did well. You set up your equations. Unfortunately, you got the wrong answer finally. So I can't give you the 1 point for the final answer, but I can give you the 2 points for the process. As for question 1, loss. So I'm not going to even talk about it. That gives you 2 out of 10. Achimota School. Achimota School, you attempted the second one first, and again you were able to set up the equation. However, your final answer is wrong, so I can only give you the mark for the process. That's worth 2 points. For the first one, you didn't have a final answer, but you were able to set up the right calculation for the second part, the bond, the energy given out. The energy given out. Your calculation was in the right direction. At least the setup was right. The final answer, no. And so you get half of the mark for that. That's 1 point. For the first part, the bond's broken. You actually missed out a whole term. There's one whole bond type that you didn't account for at all. So I can't give you anything for that. In the end, you wind up with 3 out of 10. That's the end of the problem of the day and the end of round 3. Before we begin the next round, Keta Senior High Technical School would like to effect a substitution. Elizabeth, it's been a pleasure having you. All the best. Marcel, you are welcome. Round 4. In this round, I'm going to be presenting you with statements. When you receive a statement, please consider the statement very carefully and let me know whether it's true or false. If you are right, 2 points. If you are incorrect, you lose a precious point. You may choose not to respond, in which case the statement becomes available to the 2 other schools. A school may ring and attempt an answer. If right, 2 full points. If not, the penalty, -1. Best wishes, everyone. I'm going to be starting with you, Keta Senior High Technical School. But before I come to you, I have a preamble to all schools. Preamble. Indicate whether the following are true or false with respect to a person who is on a long hunger strike and is surviving only on water. I hope you got the preamble. Once again, okay, so somebody is on a hunger strike and is only drinking water. Indicate whether the following are true or false with respect to this person who is on a hunger strike, long one, and is surviving only on water. All right, so now your statement. There will be less amino acids in his urine. Yes, Marcel?
True.
No, that's a false statement. Achimota School, there will be more glucose in his blood. If we're false, yes. There will be less urea in his urine. Mbebo?
False.
No, that's a true statement. Next set, preamble to all schools. Please listen to your preamble. A student in a physics laboratory studies the properties of electrons using a cathode ray tube with an electron gun that generates a horizontal collimated beam of electrons. The tube is equipped with sets of plates and coils between the cathode and anode that generate uniform electric and magnetic fields in planes perpendicular to the electron velocity. Again, a student in a physics lab studies the properties of electrons using a cathode ray tube with an electron gun that generates a horizontal collimated beam of electrons. The tube is equipped with sets of plates and coils between the cathode and anode that generate uniform electric and magnetic fields in planes perpendicular to the electron velocity. All right, so Keta, the trajectory of an electron from cathode to anode is a straight line when the electric and magnetic fields are both zero. Marcel?
True.
No, it's a false statement. With the same preamble, a horizontal electric field causes a deflection of an electron in a horizontal plane. If we're false, no, that's a true statement. The trajectory of an electron from cathode to anode is a parabola when the electric and magnetic fields are both zero. Mbebo?
False.
No. That's a true statement. Keta, only rational expressions with identical denominators can be multiplied. Marcel?
False.
Yes. X over y divided by y over x is equal to 1 if x is not 0 and y is not 0. If we're true, oh dear. That's a false statement. A rational function is the quotient of any two real functions, f of x and g of x. Mbebo.
True.
Oh no. Keta. Nitrogen-nitrogen double bond is expected to be stronger than carbon-nitrogen double bond. Marcel.
True.
Oh no. Carbon-chlorine bond is stronger than carbon-bromine bond. Efwa.
True. True.
Yes. Carbon-oxygen double bond is expected to be stronger than the bond in a molecule of oxygen. Mbebo.
True.
Yes. Next set comes with a preamble to all schools. Preamble. State whether the following are true or false with respect to Chagas rules of base pairing in DNA. State whether the following are true or false with respect to Chagas rules of base pairing in DNA. Keta, the molar ratio of adenine to thymine or cytosine to guanine is equal to 1. Marcel.
True.
Yes. The composition of DNA remains the same in all species. Efwa.
True. True.
No. It's a false statement. The sum of purine bases equals the sum of pyrimidine bases. Mbebo.
True.
Yes. Keta. Only photons whose energy exceed a threshold value can scatter off a stationary free electron and cause motion of the electron. Marcel?
True.
No. When a photon scatters off a stationary free electron, the energy of the scattered photon depends on the scattering angle. Efwa.
True.
Yes. When a photon scatters off a stationary free electron, the energy difference between the incident photon and the scattered photon is greatest for scattering angle of 180 degrees. Mbebo.
False.
Oh no. Keta. sine of half equal to inverse cosine of the number √3/2? Marcel?
False.
Oh dear. Inverse tangent of x is equal to inverse cotangent of 1/x. Yes, Efwa?
True.
Yes. Inverse cosine of the number -1/√2 is equal to inverse tangent of -1. Mbebo?
True.
Oh dear. What is happening to contestants today? Last set of statements for the round. Keta. A confirmatory test for lead 2+ ions in solution is the formation of a yellow precipitate when K2Cl2O7 solution is added. Marcel?
False.
Oh dear. Achimota School. A confirmatory test for sodium ions in solution is the formation of a white precipitate when zinc uranyl ethanoate solution is added. Efwa?
True.
Oh dear. It's a false statement. It's a yellow precipitate which is formed. Last statement at Adisadel College. A confirmatory test